This is Smith Welding. I'm Adam Niffen. I'm your host. Stroll around the shop with us. Check out what we got in here today. It's always fun and interesting. Alright, so here we are. Smith Welding Restoration. Check this out.
Yeah, I mean, he can probably paint it up and make it look real good anyway. Dude, put you on camera.
I can push this by myself.
This is a man building it. Well, you know, putting the bill and coming up with the ideas. We're all dead behind the eyes. We just follow his lead. We're gonna plate down the bottom, 11 gauge. We're gonna enclose the sides. We're gonna bring that up and actually around through here. It's gonna be a series of very interesting fabrication. We'll sort it out though, always do. We may have to add some tubing in to wrap the steel around. We're gonna put a hinged hood panel on this. This is the start, it just showed up. So Dustin, what possessed you to build a sandrail out of the old VW you had?
Nothing possessed me to go this far.
I told him the Volkswagen was a piece of crap. That it needed redone. This would have been a better product.
Me spending $1,500 has turned into way too much money.
That happens quickly.
Very.
It snowballs, man. Slippery slope, I think they call it. So, we got a dash cluster we're gonna put in here. What are we putting along the bottom? Just another bar? Or we're rolling an edge? What do you want?
Crossed on the bottom?
Yeah.
Yeah, solid plate, so these gauges.
So we'll just throw 11 gauge across there so it's rigid.
Do like a solid plate down, and if like just do a 90 shelf like behind it, about 3-4 inches, because I'm also.
Oh well, heck, we can do 18 gauge with that then.
Because yeah, I just need it to come down at 90 offset. I can put all my gauges, and then I'll also have some wiring shit in there too.
A couple inches.
Yeah, so go back about 3, maybe 4 inches at most.
Shit, I'm gonna have to buy that brake now. And over here, we're gonna come down. We're gonna come down this radius. What, 6 inches? Bring it across.
Spread them out. They're too big.
We got the other ones coming in.
Big in diameter.
If they
won't push forward.
If the other ones come in, because we're off the 07 Silverado, that's why I'm using those right now. Just kind of holds it up for now. But if the other ones come in, I'll bring us on over. They're supposed to be in this week.
So we got this bad boy. It's gonna be better than a week to get where we need to be. I'm gonna call this probably 10 days. Probably 10 working days. We order the steel tomorrow. We're gonna go thumb through the cabinet, see what colors we got. I'll show you more as we progress, folks. Alright, Smith Welding Restoration. John is the leading devastator on this project. We showed you, the welds were not good. Let's just put it that way. He filled in these so they're nice and flush now. And he went around and he dressed every weld on the thing. So we can say we've looked at all the welds and they're safe, okay? We've gone back through and we've welded a lot of these again. See that one, there's some inclusions there. I can't tell if it's cracked or if it's just inclusions.
Them are the ones that gotta be fixed here.
So you spent the day yesterday on this. How bad was the welding on it, really?
It's horrible. It looked good to the naked eye, but once you grind it down and look at it, there's a lot of inclusions, there's a lot of cracks, there's a lot of holes that need to be ground down. The paint covered most of it, but now it needs to be ground down and fixed since our name's on it.
All right, so let's share with folks out there that aren't certain. A lot of sheet metal workers, fabricators, and such aren't going to really be terribly familiar with inclusions. What does inclusion consist of for a weld?
It could be you ran out of gas, you didn't have the right gas flow, so you had porosity in your weld. And the best way to describe porosity is it's cancer of the metal. It'll continue to go through, looks like wormholes. Or you've welded over paint or welded over rust.
So basically, it's something in the weld. It's not. It's something in the weld that's not supposed to be there. Essentially, that weakens it, or
like right here is a good example.
There you go. That's an that was an inclusion under the weld. Only when we dressed it did we find that. What happens is you're welding this fillet and you're concentrating on this. You get your molten pool here, but not in the joint properly. So that's cold lap, which causes inclusions. All that debris in there will cause it to rot out over time, and it's not strong. So right now we're just running the Miller 140, getting some of this lightweight stuff. Yep, looky there.
Lots of stuff. Right here's the same thing. We got it too hot for the tube.
There we are. All right, so what I've been walking around on is a piece of 11 gauge. We haven't decided what we're gonna do. I think we're gonna end up cutting it to length to fit from that front axle to this rear axle apparatus.
Right here.
We'll jack it up in place and we're gonna mark it. After we mark it, I think what we'll end up doing is marking the inside of the tube where it goes, and we'll lap it a 1/2 inch or leave it that distance, whatever we got. Anyhow, we're going to spot weld, like, 1 inch, 1.5 inch spot welds we'll start with 6 inches, see if we like how that feels, and then we'll seam seal it. Continuous weld, a continuous weld would actually be a detriment on this because the tube steel in this frame is probably thinner than 11 gauge, which means we got to put more heat to that tube than we do to this.
16 gauge tube.
14 gauge possibly, but anyhow, the tubing is not as thick as the floor is going to be. So here's the trick, folks. When you're dealing with two different thicknesses of steel, a continuous weld on that, the whole bottom of that tube would just fall right the fuck off over time and just beating on this little sand rail. Spot welds is a far more efficient and structurally sound way to go. I know it doesn't sound right, but trust me on this. So we're gonna get the floor in it. We were gonna go 18 gauge across the body skin. They didn't have it. In my supply house, they didn't have it. So we have to do it out of 16 gauge, which is gonna be a motherfucker. It's gonna add a day of fabricating because 16 gauge doesn't bend as well as 18 gauge. The reason I choose 18 gauge is it welds really well, metal finishes really well, but it's still pliable enough. I can run it through the Planisher. I can cut it with my electric shears. You can break it easily. 16 gauge doesn't break as easily. That's the basics of it, folks. We'll check back in a bit. Always working hard around here. We're always working hard around here. I think he took lunch in the paint booth. All right, John, kind of give us, let's slide by this one time. You got a lot of these welds cleaned up. You got some grinding to do where you had to fix them.
We had to take it for a quick test drive, make sure everything's gonna hold up.
Yeah, how's the suspension?
Suspension seems a little stiff. Seem to feel every bump.
So we got the floor under it, so we're good there. We'll do some tack welds and then seam seal and dressing.
Oh yeah.
We got a few questions for the owner. They'll be by today, tomorrow, Monday. I don't fucking know. But Dustin will be here. We'll check it out. Stay tuned.